there. Welcome to chapter 13 of The Amazing Days of Abby Hayes. This is the story The More the Merrier, written by Ann Mazer and published by Scholastic. So let's get into it. Today we are continuing with chapter 13. It is Saturday! Ooh, the day of the party. And the calendar quote is from the Calendar of Days that says, "Tomorrow never comes." Yes it does. Tomorrow is here. It is here. It is today. Today is my party. Soon my classmates will be here. Hooray! Abby looked out the front window. When will they arrive? She asked impatiently. Isabel smiled. Not for at least another 10 minutes, she said, and people usually come late anyway. The tables were set up for the party. There were platters of cheese and rolls and fruit. There were bowls of popcorn and gallons of soda. The cakes were iced and decorated and hidden in the refrigerator. The yard was ready too. Alex had plugged in the boombox and stacked a pile of CDs next to it. The volleyball net stretched across the back of the yard, and Abby dragged out a trunk full of games. There were balloons tied to the fence and to the back porch. Abby walked over to the mirror and stared anxiously at her reflection. She was wearing a purple t-shirt and purple flowered pants. There were purple berets in her hair, and she wore sneakers with purple daisies. "You look cute," Isabel said. "Are you going to show everyone your purple room?" Abby shook her head. No. She had decided to invite Jessica, Natalie, and Bethany, maybe Casey, to see it at the end of the party. Only my close friends. A car door slammed, and there were footsteps on the porch. "Someone's here," Isabel said just as the doorbell rang. Abby ran to answer it. "It's Jessica and Sarah," she cried. "You're our first guests." Jessica handed her a platter of cookies. "These are for the party," she said. "My mom and I made them this morning." "Thanks," Abby said. Sarah shifted uncomfortably on the front steps. "I didn't bring anything," she said. "I hope that's okay." "Oh, we have plenty of food," Abby told her. "Wait until you taste my chocolate cake," Isabel called. "Great," Jessica said. "Better be," Abby said under her breath. "What?" Sarah asked. Abby didn't answer. "The party's in the backyard," she said instead. "I'll show you the way." "I know where it is," Jessica reminded her. "I've only been here like a million times since kindergarten." "Oh yeah, right," Abby said. "If you want to go out back with your friends, I'll answer the bell," Isabel offered. "Thanks, sis," Abby said. She led her friends through the house. The entire 5th grade of Lancaster Elementary was gathered in the Hayes backyard. The boys stood on one side and the girls stood on the other. Led by Mason, the boys were having a burping contest. Tyler was burping the alphabet and Zach was cheering him on. Casey was claiming he could burp "Twinkle, Twinkle" and "When You Wish Upon a Star." Just kidding. Jonathan was betting that he couldn't. The girls clustered around Brianna and Victoria, who were describing the Tiffany Crystal concert from the night before. "We had front row seats," Brianna bragged. "My cousin got us the best tickets. Right, Bethany?" Bethany was silent. "Too bad you couldn't come," Victoria snickered. "I only had 2 tickets," Brianna explained. "Of course I had to give one to Victoria. You understand, don't you, Bethany?" "Well, actually, Bethany began. "Who cares?" Victoria interrupted. "The concert was great. I got like tons of cool stuff. A poster, 2 new CDs. And I bought an authentic Tiffany Crystal keychain," Brianna bragged. Brianna tried to say. "Tiffany Crystal is like totally awesome," Victoria continued. "The singing and the dancing were the best, and I love her song, 'Nasty Sugar Sweet.'" Brianna and Victoria linked arms and burst into song. "Someone shut them up," Natalie moaned. "Please." "I'll do it," Abby's little brother Alex offered. He scampered to the porch and put the CD in the boombox and turned the volume up full blast. Victoria and Brianna broke off their singing. "Like what?" Victoria said. "The Bumble Boys?" Brianna cried. "Are you serious?" "They're the bomb," Alex said. "I totally hate the Bumble Boys," Victoria said. "Can you put on some Tiffany Crystal?" "Sorry," Abby said. "I don't have Tiffany." "This is a Tiffany-free zone," Natalie said. Victoria rolled her eyes. "Why am I here instead of at a mall?" Brianna cast a glance in the direction of the boys. Mason let out an enormous burp. They're so immature, Brianna shrieked. Why don't you take my advice, Abby, and invite 6th and 7th grade boys instead? Ew, Rachel said. They're even gross. Grosser. No, they're not, Brianna disagreed. Boys are boring, Bethany said suddenly in a loud voice. I like hamsters better. Sometimes I like them better than girls, too. Everyone stared at her. What? Tyler yelled. She prefers hamsters to people. She lives in a hamster cage, Victoria said nastily. Bethany's eyes widened, her face got red, and her lip wobbled. My room doesn't smell, Victoria sneered. Blondie doesn't smell any worse than you or Brianna, Bethany retorted. There was a moment of shocked silence. Then suddenly everyone was arguing. Tyler and Zach were yelling at the girls that girls are worse than boys. Rachel and Natalie were yelling at the boys that they are worse than girls. And Victoria was yelling at Brianna that it was time to leave the party. And Brianna was yelling at Bethany that it was her fault. And Bethany was yelling that she hated Victoria. Mason was burping. Jonathan and Megan were high-fiving each other, although no one really knew why. And Sarah and Jessica yelled for someone to turn down the music. The Bumble Boys were blaring. The Hayes backyard was a scene of pandemonium. Abby looked around frantically for help. Isabel and Eva were nowhere in sight, and Alex was fiddling with the CD player, turning the volume up and down. Her parents were getting food from the kitchen. Stop! Everyone stop! Abby cried wildly. She ran from one person to another, trying to get them to stop fighting. No one listened. As suddenly as it began, the fight ended. Bethany wiped tears from her eyes and started to shoot hoops with Jessica and Sarah. A group of boys and girls went over to the volleyball net, and Brianna Rio applied her lip gloss. At least there's music, Victoria grumbled. She began to dance to the music of the Bumble Boys. Paul and Olivia Hayes came out to the house with a big bowl of potato salad and packages of hot dogs. Abby's father fired up the grill. Nice party, honey, he said to Abby. Everyone's having a good time. Yeah, Abby said. Sure, Dad. The 5th graders had just finished eating hot dogs, potato salad, chips, and watermelon when Isabel and Eva carried out the cakes. Happy end of the school year to you, they sang. Happy end of the school year to you. Have a great summer vacation and eat lots of cake, too. Abby's twin sisters set the cakes down on the table. This is my extraordinary carrot cake with cream cheese icing, Eva announced. And this is my fabulous chocolate cake with vanilla icing, Isabel said, with the mystery ingredient. She picked up a toy horn and tooted it. We are now serving cake, the twins announced in unison. The 5th graders rushed over toward the tables. Abby took a piece of Eva's cake and a piece of Isabel's. With her fork, she pried loose a tiny crumb of Isabel's mystery chocolate cake. Carefully, she put it in her mouth. She closed her eyes and tasted it. It's good, she said in surprise. Told you, Isabel smirked. Have you tasted mine? Eva demanded. It's even better. Abby took a huge forkful of carrot cake. It's delicious, too. They're both great, Jessica agreed. Yeah, Casey agreed, his mouth full of cake. I wish this party would never end, Natalie said. Me too, Jonathan agreed. Can I have second helpings? Tyler asked. What about thirds? Mason demanded. Victoria made a face. Piggy, piggy. This cake is so good, but the cake that my mother ordered from a French bakery was even better, Brianna said. Bien. Speak English, Natalie said. No one understands a word that you're saying. Thank goodness, Abby said under her breath. Bethany snickered. Too bad if you're all ignorant, Brianna said. She stood up and threw out her paper plate. Another game of volleyball? Abby suggested. Great idea, yeah, let's do it. Her classmates got up and ran over to the net. The party was going as smoothly as possible, Abby thought with satisfaction. The games were fun, the food was great, even the vinegar cake. And all the 5th graders were laughing and having a good time. Abby hadn't needed Isabel and Eva's party planning services after all. She was a natural party giver. She picked up the volleyball and served it over the net. Eee! The first shriek came from Brianna. Ah! The second came from Victoria. Fat, wet, purple water balloons were exploding in front of the 2 best-dressed girls in 5th grade. They flung their arms up to protect themselves, but they were already getting drenched from head to toe. Their sequin scoop neck tops and tiny short skirts and bump-toed shoes were dripping wet. Their hair hung in soggy tangles, and mascara ran down their faces. Brianna was screaming helplessly, "My best shirt! My best skirt! My best hair!" "I'm like totally soaked," Victoria moaned. "It's the bomb," Mason cackled as another water balloon splattered in front of Victoria. Suddenly, the air was filled with water balloons. Megan, Rachel, Bethany, and Natalie were the new targets. "Ha ha 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 ha!" laughed Mason, Tyler, and Zach. Shrieking and yelling, the girls ran around the yard, dodging the water balloons. The balloons splattered near the food tables and the volleyball net. They splattered by the garden and on the grill. Natalie stopped. "Revenge!" she cried, running for the hose. "War!" The girls flocked behind her. Natalie brandished the hose. "Girls against boys! To the wet, sloppy end!" "Hooray!" the girls shouted. "War on boys!" Natalie aimed a hose at Mason, then doused Tyler and Zach. "Let's get 'em!" Bethany cried, emptying a soda bottle on top of Jonathan's head. "Stop, stop, stop!" Abby screamed, but nobody listened. Her party was racing out of control. She looked around for her parents, or even Eva and Isabel, but they had all gone inside. Alex was the only Hayes in sight. And we'll read chapter 14 tomorrow.